I'm going to do a little bit of the results from this last CESIM round. Um, bear with my voice here. Looking at round 2, now we're into round 2, universe 1, looking at overall sales revenues. Sales revenues here are still pretty consistent. A couple people up on top, Laura with 1.8, Vicky with 2.1. So those are probably the standouts, starting to make a little bit of room. If we take a look at this, looking at research and design, Sarah spent a lot of money on research and design, more than what she made in sales revenue. So that would be why the operating profit is at a negative. Definitely a lot of research and design happening there. A little bit of contract manufacturing costs, feature costs here. You can see that across the board. Vicki spent a little bit more on feature costs, and Jordan a little bit. Otherwise, not too bad. Sarah with the only negative profit for this round, and that's only because of the huge research and design expense. Well, that's the primary reason for it anyway, and low sales revenue, so I'll have to get that up. Otherwise, everybody's pretty consistent in their overall profit, with Vicki really being the standout there. Certainly, there's some spending going on here. I'm looking at variable production costs. It looks like Laura probably invested in some plants, and that might be why her costs are a little bit higher there. Looking at that. All right, let's look at verse 2. Different story here. Gray Ghost at 2.1, Jacob at 2.153. So definitely making some headway here with these results. And we can see that very consistent really around variable production costs for everybody. A little bit of Amy's being a little bit conservative with her building, I think, but otherwise everybody else is pretty much consistent across the board. A little bit of research and design happening here. Jacob's spending quite a bit on research and design, which kind of ate out a little bit of his profits, but a good investment in round 2, I think. So that's kind of where we're standing from that perspective. So I'll go back to universe 1 and take a look at market reports and see. Now Sarah had lower sales, so her market share is going to be down a little bit, so you can see that. And we can just take a look at why. So Laura, your Tech 2, you've got quite a high price on that, but you are selling quite a bit. So curious to see why that might be. And I think it's probably because you're selling it mostly in Asia and Europe, because your prices are lower in those areas. You're probably not selling a lot of Tech 2 in the United States with a price like that. So I think that was a mistake. So Laura, I would fix that. Sarah, we've got to bring these prices down. You're not going to sell anything with prices that high. You really need to be in a better place with that. So make sure to get that adjusted, and I think that will help. Also, if you take a look at feature costs, this will help you as well understand your total sales that you have in each of those areas for each of the technologies, and how many features that you have as well. So Hugo, also, let's take a look at, I'm going to go back, take a look at where you are. For technology 1, still quite a bit higher with technology 1, so we need to bring that price down for the United States. I think okay for Asia, and okay for Europe, but just that US price for Tech 1, Hugo, we need to make an adjustment on. Universe 2, a little bit of a dip in here in this area. So not a lot of demand for Tech 2, otherwise I think your market share would be a little bit higher here. But let's just make sure to take a look at your prices, Sarah and Amy. So that's one of the big key indicators, is making sure that you're competitive with all of your competition. And these prices are a little bit too high here. So if you get that down, I think you'll start to see that improve. And then you can also take a look at the number of features here that each of the areas have. You don't see the promotion that they're doing on here, but the promotion will make a big difference on your outlook to the market as well. So production and looking at utilization, Vicki is at 100%, so running out of capacity as we speak. It looks like next round you'll have a couple of more plants for the US and also for Asia, so that should help you out a little bit, but just kind of keep that in mind as to where you're at. You're doing really well from a utilization perspective. And then Laura also doing pretty well. You don't have quite as many on the horizon, so you may want to consider perhaps building a little bit more in that capacity. And Sarah, until we can get your sales up, Hugo as well, I think I would leave it right there. And let's see if we can get your utilization up a little bit higher. Same with Emily. Okay, so we'll keep working on that utilization. That's something that you'll work on each round. Likewise, Sydney and Jacob, Grey Ghost, you're doing actually pretty good with your utilization. Lots of sales revenue, but you still have a little bit of room yet. Sydney and Jacob getting really close to running out of space. It looks like Sydney's got a couple of plants on the horizon, which is great. Jacob has one as well for next round and one coming up. So you're probably going to need that. You may want to consider a little bit more. Grey Ghost has a couple in the works as well. So I think that will help create a little bit of space there. Elizabeth, you may want to start considering, and Aaron and Mark, maybe you, as you start growing your business, you might need a little bit more. As far as Sarah and Amy, I would just leave it right now until you can get that utilization up where it's closer to about 80% before you start building. So that would be my recommendation. All right. So with that being said, that is this week's rounds. Next round, we'll have some additional challenges in your market and the changes that happen. So make sure you take a look at what is happening in the market conditions, because this changes every round. So make sure you read that and adjust your demand accordingly. And if there's anybody that would like me to create a specific video just for them and provide some recommendations, I'd be happy to do that. So shoot me a message if you're interested in that. Have a great week.